Hello, I'm Robert Martinez, State Historian of New Mexico, and this is New Mexico History in 10 minutes. Well, the Coronado expedition of 1540 was a bust. And as you can imagine, the Pueblo people of New Mexico did not get a good impression of the Spanish. And to be honest, the Spanish did not get a good impression of New Mexico. So, New Mexico will essentially be forgotten for about 50 years or so. But there's a lot going on in that time period that we need to talk about because it has an impact on our history. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado was just one of many powerful and wealthy Spaniards operating in central Mexico, New Spain, in the mid-1500s. There was a man named Cristobal de Onate, who was from Spain, who was a rival of Coronado and was also operating in the same areas as he was. So we need to talk about him. We need to go back to the era of Cortés, the 1520s and the 1530s. It's in this time period that a man named Nuño de Guzman comes from Spain. He's sent by the king to counter Cortés because Cortés, it is believed, is becoming too wealthy and too powerful in Mexico. So Nuño de Guzman comes and he right away he starts tearing at Cortés and other people who are his rivals, such as Juan de Zumárraga, the Bishop of Mexico. Guzman becomes the governor of Pánuco, and then later of Nueva Galicia. Cristobal de Oñate is an underling of Guzman, and they're interesting to look at because they are quite a contrast, one from the other. Guzman was the quintessential, cruel, vicious conquistador. If there's a cliche of a Spanish conquistador, he fits the bill. He was a tyrant. He was enslaver of Indians. He was cruel to Indians. He beat them, abused them, killed them. You have to remember, he is seen through the lens of his opponents, people like Cortés and Zumárraga. Nonetheless, he makes quite a name for himself in the 1520s and 1530s in Nueva España, New Spain. One of his soldiers is Cristobal de Oñate, who is, compared to Guzman, quite an upstanding and honorable conquistador. He doesn't share those vicious and cruel qualities that Guzman had, and he's a very, very determined man who comes to New Spain, like a lot of Spaniards, to make a name for himself. So remember, in the 1540s, Coronado comes to New Mexico, but Spain makes a big brinca, a big jump to the north, looking to dominate the North American continent. It's not just New Mexico. They explore the West Coast, they explore the East Coast. Hernandez Soto goes to the Mississippi, but the cities of gold are not found. So by the mid-1540s, Spain has decided to be a little bit more realistic and a little bit more reasonable. And they start to explore into areas that are closer to places like Mexico City and Guadalajara. Well, one night, Cristobal de Oñate and his soldiers are exploring, and they make camp, and they notice that by the firelight, some of the rocks are glowing or shiny. So as you can imagine, they test the rocks around there, and they find that they are camping at the foot of a mountain that is a huge vein of silver. This is in 1548, and this is to become the city of Zacatecas. 1548 to 1549, Spaniards flood to this area that's just a few hundred miles north of Guadalajara and Mexico City. These were the original 49ers, Spaniards rushing to Zacatecas to get rich. It's not like there aren't any people there, though. The Chichimeca Indians are there, and they will not be subdued easily. They are formidable warriors. They're tough, they're stubborn, and they can match the Spaniards in cruelty. It said that in battle, when they would take a Spaniard prisoner, they would skin him and then impale him on a wooden stake to terrorize the other Spaniards. So this is the terrain that the Spaniards have to deal with in Zacatecas. Nonetheless, Cristobal de Onate and his fellow conquistadores, they become very wealthy. They become some of the most powerful men in New Spain. And Cristobal himself establishes himself at the mines of Panuco near Zacatecas, and he marries and has a family there. I think he has about 5 or 6 kids, 5 of them there. And 2 of his sons are born about 10 years later. Cristobal de Onate II and Juan de Onate. Juan is important to New Mexico history. He's born about 1558. And as you can imagine, he and his brother Cristobal, they grow up learning mining trade, business, and soldiering, and fighting Indian wars with the Chichimeca Indians. The reason this is important is because Juan de Onate, who will eventually marry Isabel de Tolosa Cortez Moctezuma, she descends from Hernan Cortez and the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma. He will also become a very powerful figure, not just in Zacatecas, but ultimately we will see he will bid for the contract to come north and settle and colonize what will eventually become known as Nuevo Mexico. But before that, we need to recognize that there were other expeditions before 1598, when Onate ultimately comes to New Mexico. There was the Chamuscado Rodriguez expedition, a priest who's an explorer. Back then, priests were soldiers and explorers and businessmen too. They got involved in all the action. And there was the Castaño de Sosa expedition, which was illegal. That expedition came out of Nueva León, Monterrey, Mexico. And some people believe that expedition was a crypto-Jewish expedition. Crypto-Jews meaning they were Catholic on the outside, but secretly practiced Judaism at home, which was illegal in Spanish Catholic realms. And that expedition gets as far as Pecos, but the viceroy will have none of it, and neither will the governor of Nueva León, who sends soldiers to arrest Castaño de Sosa and bring that colony back south. So this is the situation. There are people coming up here, soldiers. They're getting the lay of the land, and Spain does not forget that there are Pueblo people in what is now New Mexico, and there's that draw to convert them, bring them to the true faith according to the Spanish. And also, things are changing a little. There's still that desire to find mineral wealth, but there's also pressure now northeast. There are French people settling around Louisiana, and British people have settled around 1620 on the east coast of North America. So those foes of Spain and Europe, France and England, are starting to make themselves present to the Spanish on the North American continent. And Spain is concerned because they have a lot of wealth in places like Zacatecas, Santa Barbara, and south in Mexico City. So New Mexico is reconsidered for colonization and conquest. And next time, I'm going to talk about what happens when Juan de Onate, son of Cristobal de Onate, goes for the contract to come to New Mexico. Hasta luego. Goodbye.